Good Tuesday morning, everybody. Welcome to the Volquest podcast. I'm Eric Kane alongside Austin Price, Rob Lewis, and Brent Hubbs. Tennessee 1-0 on the young football season. ETSU for the home opener at Neyland Stadium. That's coming up on Saturday, 3:30 in the afternoon. What a start time for the ETSU contest. It's going to be streamed on ESPN Plus and the SEC Network Plus. So it's that game, that one game of the year that is not on traditional television. It will be on your streaming networks. A lot to discuss here on this edition of the Volquest podcast. Appreciate you guys for being here. Let's start with the big news early in the week, guys. Josh Heupel got up there. You know, we were kind of laughing about it on the Rocky Top Rewind. I mentioned we'll see if we get an injury update, knowing that we probably wouldn't. Josh Heupel gave a pretty detailed injury report. Jackson Moy, not going to play this week, but probably will be back soon. But the big news earlier this week is Rickey Gibson, Tennessee's starting cornerback, is going to be out for, quote, an extended period of time. Brent Hubbs.
Yeah, that's a tough injury for Tennessee. It really is. That Ty Redmond can step in there and play, but it's the depth concerns that you have now. I think Redmond proved himself to be a solid contributor, solid player in week one. Now he'll get tested much more against, better competition as we move along, but Syracuse got some quality receivers. So it's not like that he played against a poor group of receivers, Austin, but it's a different test. I think the bigger concern right now is how do you manufacture depth if somebody else gets hurt, if you get a targeting call go against a corner, which we've seen those happen before. That type of thing, I think, is the question mark for Tennessee is where are you with your third corner and your fourth corner, because we know they would like to rotate, but what does that look like right now? Because you went from Jermod McCoy and Rickey Gibson in January to now Colton Hood, Ty Redmond, and who? As we enter the month of September.
Well, it certainly what it does to me is it solidifies Boo Carter's spot on this football team even more, because now, you're going to have to probably play Jalen McMurray over there at corner some, which is where he played a year ago. And, not all the time, but some of the time, which means Boo is locked in as your star in that instance. You need him, and that's I told a high school buddy of mine the other day, because he was like, we really don't need that many star players. And I'm like, no, that's the silliest thing I've ever heard. You can never have enough quality players on your football team. You'd rather have to manage the people being upset because they didn't play than not have enough and be scrambling. And, Tennessee's going to have to figure some things out. Obviously, if Jermod McCoy could be back by, let's say UAB and knock the rust off that week and play against Mississippi State, that would be ideal. But you want to try to get those guys back as quickly as you can, including Rickey, whenever that is. Is that, sometime in October? Is it November? What? Because an extended period of time is very open-ended. So, it's going to be probably a thrill a minute in some instances because of what you said, the potential for a targeting play or, a turned ankle or whatever. But, they're going to have to figure it out, which is why this week is so big. I would be playing all those younger guys, Tim Merritt, Dylan Lewis, everybody, just to spot fill it and trying to see who can we potentially throw in there if we need to.
Well, with Rickey Gibson out for an extended period of time, Rob Lewis, and again, we don't know how long that is. Josh Heupel said on Monday he doesn't know how long that is, but it is an extended period of time. It's not going to be this week for ETSU. He won't be available for Georgia, and that's disappointing, not having your top two cornerbacks, two NFL cornerbacks, in my opinion. I mean, McCoy, of course, is a first-rounder, be available for that game. But, two parts of this. Colton Hood, how valuable is the Colton Hood edition? I mean, that's everything. And he played so well on Saturday to begin with. But also, Rob, Ty Redmond, true freshman, got thrown into the fire. You and I were talking about it Monday morning, right? 60 snaps, 4 pass breakups, whatever that was. I mean, he looked really good against Syracuse. And, I mean, how big has his emergence been, and how big is that acquisition of Colton Hood? Because, sure, this is not ideal. This is not where you want to be. But, man, you don't feel like you're scraping the bottom of the barrel right now. You still have talent out there at corner.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand, it's a huge blow when you're talking about thinking, I don't pretend to know intimately what everyone had in the league, but I bet that Tim Banks probably wouldn't have traded that combo of Jermod and Rickey Gibson for too many other tandems in the league. So to lose those guys, I mean, that's not really – it's hard to find a silver lining, but, man, Redmond's just a gem. I mean, obviously they liked him, but they wouldn't have signed him, but I don't think anybody saw this, coming this quickly. And Colton Hood looked like a nice pickup, but my goodness, I mean, can you imagine where they would be without those, without that right now? I mean, if they hadn't picked up Hood from Colorado, if Redmond hadn't, just had a great camp, they'd be a tough spot. But any way you slice it, it's a tough break. But man, you have to be really encouraged by what you saw from Hood on Saturday and Redmond. If I'm not mistaken, I know everybody doesn't love PFF, but I think he was the highest graded guy on defense from Pro Football Focus for the week, which is
and Rob Lewis number 2 was Colton Hood. It was Ty Redmond 75.6, Colton Hood 75.4, Jalen McMurray 73.9. So like 3 of your starting defensive backs up there leading the way.
Yeah, I mean those guys played well. I think the Redmond story is pretty good, Austin. It's a reminder to one. The high school football that's played in the state of Georgia. I mean, that guy was the 85th or 86th ranked player in the state of Georgia, the 66th corner in the country coming out of high school. There's no way, I mean, Tennessee may never admit it, but there's no way they thought he was going to be this right out of the gate, right? I mean, Tennessee beat out NC State for him. It's not like he didn't have other Power 5 offers. I mean, this is not an Inky Johnson where he was going to be a preferred walk-on or a scholarship guy. So he had opportunities, but I don't think anybody saw this coming out of Ty Redmond at this point when he was coming out of high school a year ago, right? I mean, he's had to have exceeded anything Tennessee had hoped for in year one. Am I wrong in that?
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think you find out a lot too what schools think of players, especially now that 95% of kids being here in spring, you can kind of get a feel. I mean, exiting spring, you knew that they really liked him. You knew he was going to be someone who would play this fall. Now, how much would he play? I mean, that would be dependent on others, but that they had a lot of a high comfort level with him. It also shows that like anybody that does rankings is tasked with like the most non-winnable job on the planet. I mean, and that's the truth. I mean, you look at him. How is he the 66th corner or the 85th player in the state? I mean, that's probably the 85th player in the state of Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of good talent in Georgia. It's hard for me to believe that you looked at it and goes, okay, he's number 85. But yeah, I mean, you're tasked with a thankless job. He's long, he's athletic, and he's confident, and he's just kind of cerebral. Like you see him walk around the complex, and he's not like this big personality. He just kind of is to himself, head down, business-like, and just kind of a smooth operator.
Yeah, I could tell. They brought him in for interviews. I don't know, the first or second week of camp, and I mean, you could tell. I mean, he wasn't your normal freshman. He was mature. He was engaged. He wasn't remotely intimidated by all the cameras and stuff. But he was pretty polished for an 18-year-old. The first time they brought him in front of all the media.
Brent, here's my question, and again, we're going to do this all week, so apologies out there to Bucs fans, but I mean, you got this game on Saturday, but everybody knows what's happening a week from Saturday. Georgia's coming to town. Colton Hood started at Auburn, played a lot at Colorado, now here at Tennessee, so he's been around a little bit. He's played big-time football. He hasn't played a Southeastern Conference schedule as a main contributor before, but he's a little bit different, as Austin pointed out earlier on Tuesday or on Monday. How do you get Ty Redmond ready? It's just about reps. I mean, you can't get that experience until you live it, right? I mean, he's going to go in there very raw against one of the better teams in college football, obviously in Georgia in a couple weeks. So obviously if I'm Georgia, like I'm probably trying to target him just like Tennessee very much targeted the 17-year-old cornerback against Syracuse. Just something that he's going to have to be prepared for and certainly will be.
Well, I think the benefit is he got 60 snaps on Saturday against a Power 5 opponent.
Yeah.
Power 4, excuse me. One of these days I'll learn math. There's only 4 of them now, not 5. But, the Cook kid can play. Syracuse has got some quality athletes playing wide receiver. So I think those 60 snaps, he needs more this week just to continue to get reps, no doubt. But those 60 snaps unexpectedly are invaluable for where he's at in terms of preparing for how to manage this thing over the coming weeks and for however long he's going to have to play. The moment wasn't too big for him. He was put in critical situations. He wasn't perfect. But I don't want to sound like Josh Heupel here, but you've had all summer to get him ready. And the message has been be ready to play because you don't have time to be a freshman. We don't have time for you to sort of tiptoe your way into the water and kind of wade out there and get used to the water. You just got to jump in and go play. And to Redmond's credit, I mean, what third, fourth play he was in the game? Did he not have a pass breakup? I mean, it was he made himself known very quickly in the game, and I thought he was fantastic. He won't be perfect, but for that situation and what he was thrust into, he was going to play some anyway on Saturday, even if the game was not out of – I mean, it wasn't like, well, when we get control of this game, we'll put him in there. They were going to rotate him in early. He was ready to go and performed well. So, and that's a position you can play as a freshman, right? I mean, good players around the country at that position. It's a lot easier for Ty Redmond to play corner against Georgia than it is for Ethan Utley or Isaiah Campbell to play defensive tackle against Georgia.
Yes.
So I think the bigger thing is how do you get some of those guys ready as opposed to a skilled athlete out there ready? Those guys are a little more ready-made played to play. It's kind of like a guard in basketball versus a big man in basketball from a physicality standpoint.
Yeah, I want to talk about defensive tackle here in a moment, but Austin, how comfortable do you think Tim Banks would be with McMurray is your third corner, and he's also your 2 at star or whatever he is? I mean, how comfortable do you think this defensive staff will be, not just cross-training, he can play here, but literally being in the rotation at both corner and star moving forward? Because I think that's what you got to do, right?
I think they'll be very comfortable. Again, older guy, played both positions, can handle it. The question is like if they have another loss, as Hub said, if you lose somebody to a targeting or an ankle or whatever, like at that point, like how comfortable are they? I'm not sure they're real comfortable at that point, but I think they're okay right now. But it's we talked about this last night. All these guys need work, minus maybe Colton Hood, and even he's not played a ton of football, so he probably could use the work too. But you ultimately need to be really healthy 1 week from now. So, whatever you do Saturday, I would say it would be, get in, get out, and stay healthy. So, I would say they might play the first quarter and a half, 2 quarters. I don't see 4 and 8 and 6 and 23 playing a lot in the second half if I'm the defensive coordinator, because I just don't think you can afford to do it.
Let's shift down to the defensive line where Tennessee's already without David Hobbs. Going to be without at least this week for Jackson Moy. That's 2 on the interior. You got Bryson Easton, who's a starting defensive tackle. Your next starting defensive tackle, Brent, right now, maybe, Rob, probably Dom Bailey, okay? And then you can just put Tyree Weathersby out there at end or, West or whoever, Marion Dye. I mean, Weathersby would be who you start. Nathan Robinson's an option, but he got banged up a little bit. And then you get into the Ethan Utleys, the Jamal Wallaces, the Isaiah Campbells, and the Josh Snell, who I don't think Campbell didn't play. I don't think Josh Snell played at all either. Getting a little bit thin there at defensive tackle, but right now for snap number 1 against ETSU, your 2 defensive tackles are probably Bryson Easton and Dom Bailey, wouldn't you think?
Depends on where Nathan Robinson is. I mean,
Yeah.
I could certainly see him starting Nathan Robinson based on what we saw Saturday if he's healthy enough. To me, that's the most interesting coach's decision of the week. Jackson Moy's decision's already made. He's not going to play. We know Rickey Gibson can't play. I think when you're talking about how do you manage this week, what you do with Nathan Robinson is one of the more interesting things because, Rob, as Austin pointed out, Nathan Robinson has not played a lot of football, so he needs to work. But you also note he has a hard time staying healthy, and he's got a tender ankle right now. So the yin and the yang of that one for Nathan Robinson will be an interesting decision as they go along this week on what they want to do. If the ankle is healthy enough for him to play, he might make the decision for you with the ankle. But if he's healthy enough to play, how much do you play him? What do you do with him if he's not 100%?
I mean, any of those guys that are remote health question marks, I'm sitting this week. I just think I totally get the argument. Yeah, every a guy like Nathan Robinson can benefit from every rep, but man, you got to have. To me, that pales in comparison to having all hands on deck for Georgia, and that would go for Nathan or anybody in that boat.
I would agree. I mean, I don't make $9 million a year. I don't make whatever Tim Banks' contract is. I forgot. I would not play Nathan Robinson simply because you have to have him. And boy, how impactful was he on Saturday? He made a couple of plays that were huge in that first half.
Really good.
And over the course of his career, it's just hard to keep him on the field. So knowing what's to come on the schedule, not just Georgia, but knowing what's to come down the line, man, I'm not playing him. I'm playing Ethan Utley 40 snaps. I'm playing Isaiah Campbell 40 snaps. Josh Snell's getting in there. Jamal Wallace, all that he can handle. I mean, I'm trying to get as much work for those guys as I humanly can possibly get. So that's just me. I'm with you, Rob. But certainly, we'll see. Coaches are different. They want to get them out there. They want to. It's a whole mindset deal. I can see him going out there for a series or two, for a quarter or two. Probably not for a half and then a series after halftime against ETSU, but that is interesting. I'm with Hubs. I think that's going to be one of the most interesting decisions this week.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong here. Tell me I'm wrong, but don't you think Jamal Wallace? That's the one I'm watching this week, and how does he handle now playing? How much is he better week 1 to week 2? Because he's been in the system for a year. Now, I know he's adjusting from being a linebacker and playing with his hand in the dirt on the inside at this level. That's not what he did in the junior college ranks. But he's an older guy, so he should have more maturity. He should have a little more physicality to him just from raw strength. He's been with this program and with Rodney Garner for a year. I mean, I'm pushing him this week. I'm giving him a ton of reps just to see if maybe he can figure it out better than he had it figured out in week 1, because physically I think he's got a chance to be a little further along than Ethan Utley, who's not as heavy as you would like, and Isaiah Campbell, who's still trying to figure it out at this level and all that's involved in playing at this level. Is that putting too much on Jamal Wallace? Is that too unrealistic on what you would hope to get out of him this week?
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to football season. On3 is thrilled to be teaming up with great people over at BetMGM this season. When you join BetMGM, you get access to a variety of parlay selection features like same-game parlays, live betting options, and so much more. If you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use that bonus code ON3, ON3, ON3. You're going to get up to $1,500 first bet offer on your first wager with BetMGM. Here's how it works. Download the BetMGM app and sign up using the bonus code ON3. Deposit at least $10 and place your first wager on any game. You'll receive up to $1,500 in bonus bets if your bet loses. Just make sure to use that redeem code ON3, ON3, when you sign up. Make this college football season one for the history books. Make it legendary. See BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 plus or older. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Available in the U.S. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369-NY. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP-AZ. 1-800-327-5050. 1-800-BETS-OFF. 1-800-981-0023 PR. First bet offer for new customers only, subject to eligibility requirements. Rewards are non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire in 7 days in partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel. Don't forget, if you haven't signed up for BetMGM yet, use that bonus code ON3 and get up to $1,500 in first bet offer today.
No, in fact, I would. We were talking about who would be the starter beside of Eason. If it's not Nathan Robinson, I think Jamal Wallace makes the most sense because he went in before the other younger guys on Saturday, and I don't think that's unfair at all. I think, at some point, it was Kitzelman on Monday who was talking about getting back into game shape. I think, and Hubbs, you referenced, it seemed like Wallace was, feeling fatigued after, getting 3 or 4 straight plays. I think that's important. I think, beginning him further in game shape, so to speak, is only going to help him. It's only going to help the team. So the more you can push him and push some of those younger guys, the better. But I think that's totally fair with Jamal Wallace.
I was going to say durability. Like, can Jamal? He played 22 snaps on Saturday. Like, durability wise, can he play 35? I don't. Yeah, he's never done it. I don't know.
I think you got to push that this week. And here's a bigger picture question. This is not on your list of topics, Eric. So I apologize. But here's a bigger picture question. When you look at what fall camps around the country have become, I don't, and watching games, and I know it was hot in some places for some teams that maybe not used to the heat because of where they're from or whatever. I don't remember seeing as much kind of cramping up, little bumps and bruises as I saw this first weekend in college football. Rob, fall camps are so different now, right? There's off days in. I'm not talking about Tennessee. I'm talking about everybody around the country. I think getting into game shape. Now, some of these teams are playing legit opponents. Like, they're not playing a payday game. So it is different for them emotionally. It's different for them in the snap count. But I think the shift in some of the fall camp physicality, number of days you work, makes it a little harder to get into game shape. Now, Kitzelman's different because they limited him. But I think in general, I mean, it's been a while since you've seen and heard talk of IVs, in the locker room for guys with various cramps and different things like that. We saw that a lot around the country this week. And I think that's a fall camp thing.
Yeah, I wonder, however, if it's – and again, we need, somebody with a degree in this stuff to talk to about it. But
you're telling me I'm not smart enough to have this?
I'm telling you, I'm not either. But I mean like a trainer, somebody – but what I'm saying is because the summer is so much different. They didn't, 10 years ago, they weren't doing this anywhere close to the level of conditioning work they were doing in the summer.
Fair. You're right.
But you would think that would lead to being, in better, shape, at least cardio and stuff early. And I guess my argument is I think just what we're talking about being in game shape is different than being able to go out and run 4 miles. I mean, I think, playing a football game is, I think it's just different.
Now, somebody's going to hop in this thing after they watch it and listen to it and go, hey, Hubs, they took like 12 IVs at the half and 98 in the Carrier Dome, which is exactly right. That's fair. There was a ton of cramping going on in that game. So it's not like it hasn't happened. And maybe it's just something that jumped out to me for whatever reason. But it felt like there was a little more of that this weekend in college football. Than
you saw a ton of it at Notre Dame and Miami. And you might expect to see that when Notre Dame goes to play at Miami, but I noticed a lot of it on Sunday night in that game.
Just goes to show you sometimes you can't control that. Like, I mean, Austin and I see cramps to the max first couple of weeks of the high school season. But these high school players, they don't have the resources they don't have the nutrition staff, they don't have the electrolytes that'll be flowed into them and stuff that you get at a college campus. I mean, sometimes just kind of out of your control.
Well, no doubt. I mean, so I found that to be a little bit curious in light of what Kitzelman was saying about getting into game shape. You should be better, more durable in week 2. Your body should be adjusted to it. And so I think you'll see less of it in week 2 than you saw in week 1. To me, it felt like we saw a good bit of it around the country in week 1.
So Tennessee's got ETSU this week. Josh Heupel probably hates this week more than anybody because the media, us fans, aren't going to be taking it seriously. But I mean, it is what it is, right? I've not seen the line. I don't even know if there's a line out there. I mean, it's a Power 4 SEC program playing an FCS team, is what it is. And so, what do you think Tennessee needs to accomplish this week, Austin? Like, what do you want to see Tennessee accomplish this week besides staying injury free, outside of winning very convincingly?
Offensively, I'd like to see the passing game continue to find its footing. Obviously, it's over 247, really solid performance by Joey. But, you'd like to see the wide receivers, slow down some of the drops and, just kind of be a little more crisp with everything. That's the offensive side of the ball. Defensively, just stop the run. As Hubs pointed out, on Monday in the 2-minute drill, I believe it was, ETSU ran the football effectively a week ago. Tennessee did not stop the run all that well. Stop the run. Georgia's going to want to run the football. That's what they do. I listened to their broadcast leaving the Dome the other day, and ad nauseum they talked about how Kirby Smart set the goal of 250 yards rushing against Marshall, and they got to like 240 something or whatever. I mean, they're going to want to run the football. That's the fabric of their identity, and so you better figure out how to clog up the middle a little better because Georgia, it's really good up front.
Rob Lewis, what do you want to see Tennessee accomplish this week? What should the Volunteers be going in there trying to check in those boxes ahead of?
I mean, statistically, I'm not looking at anything statistically. Just kind of what we've been talking about. Play as many of those. I mean, not, and I don't mean just freshmen, but more of those guys. Second-year guys who are just moving into bigger roles. I would, I don't think the staff always does the best job of emptying the bench. Early. I think this week, especially with Georgia coming up. And I'm talking about guys who are starters. I mean, Braylon Staley and Mike Matthews have not played a ton of football. I mean, I think, give those guys like that some run. I mean, you've got a bunch of dudes on this team who are in their in their second, third year in the program, just in much bigger roles. I mean, Jesse Perry. You just keep on going down the list. I just want to see a lot of those young guys get a lot of run and benefit from it.
I'm curious to see the leadership of this team and how they have this team ready to play. I mean, look, you got North Dakota pushed Kansas State to the brink. Tarleton State beat Army. Some fluky things can potentially happen out there. Tennessee's obviously better. They should win this football game going away. But play like that, right? Don't come out and be sloppy to start the game. Come out and have that edge about you that you need to have on both sides of the ball. Take control of the football game. And then all the other stuff I think we're talking about takes precedent. But Arian Carter, have your side of the ball ready to play. Miles Kitselman, Joey Aguilar, have your side ready to play with an edge and an attitude about you. I think when you're young like this, you should be excited to play. It's your first home game and all those things. But, I mean, it's a different opponent. So it's a different field that you've got to get ready for. And it's a challenge for some of those young guys to stay with the mental edge that you would have when you're playing a Syracuse or an SEC opponent, when you know who your opponent is on the other side. So I think for some of those young guys who are playing key roles now, maturity's got to be on display in this one. I want to see the maturity of this football team out of the gates.
The Tennessee and ETSU coming up on Saturday. Let's look back at the SEC weekend around the conference. Obviously a headliner, LSU Clemson, Ohio State Texas. Friday night, pretty good ball game if you're an Auburn fan, Auburn and Baylor. Alabama takes one to Florida State, so on and so forth. Anything stand out to you guys, Rob, big takeaway from the conference this past weekend? Obviously not a very good showing offensively for Texas.
Yeah, I mean, I'll withhold a little judgment on Texas just because I think that was a really tough spot. I mean, I know Texas is talented, but Ohio State is loaded. I mean, losing that game, 14-7 on the road, that doesn't make me really throw the book in on Texas. I mean, obviously, lots of question marks about Arch. I mean, he was just a Twitter whipping boy on Saturday, but I mean, he's got to play better. But losing 14-7 in Columbus, that's not a lot of shame in that one. But my biggest takeaway is, I mean, Alabama. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm really not trying to be funny and sarcastic and pile on, but
sure?
I mean, they're just unrecognizable. I mean, it's unbelievable to think that's Nick Saban's program 2 years ago. I mean, it's one game. I mean, maybe they just had an awful afternoon, but they were just unrecognizable to me as a program, as a team. And I didn't see the whole game. We were working, we were writing. By the time I flipped on, what was happening had already been established, but it was eye opening.
For all the talk this offseason about, there were people that have predicted Alabama to win the national title, and they still may. It's the playoff era, right? You can right the ship to get it figured out. But for all that talk of, that they loved up that offensive line. The offensive line got whipped. I mean, Florida State got after them. I mean, Ty was running for his life. Alabama could not run the football, and just Rob's right. It does not look like the same program. Even Nick's last year, they kind of masked it a little bit in that run all the way to the semis. They were not as Alabama as they have been, and so you do wonder, like, in this era, like, is there something that is really holding them back? Is it the money side of things? What is it, in this era that seems to be kind of maybe bogging them down? They're still really good, still got a lot of talent, but they are not what they once were. But then again, who would be after the run they had?
Well, yeah, and it's also a reminder how quickly things can change in college football. It's hard to stay. I think what we're going to see moving forward, whether Alabama's this unbelievable fall from grace or it's just some slipping, I think we're going to have a greater appreciation as years go by for the fact that Nick Saban got them to the top and they stayed at the top, which
look at that schedule.
Really hard to do.
I mean, that back half. Look at that. Starting with Tennessee, South Carolina, which is on the road, and then LSU, Oklahoma. You get them at home, and then at Auburn. I mean, that. Those last six, that's pretty tough.
Well, I think the question for Alabama is what can they figure out in the line of scrimmage? And because Rob's right, I mean, and you're right. Quarterback's running for his life. They couldn't run it. They got it ran all over them. I mean, Florida State ran it down. I mean, that's the most surprising thing of the weekend is just where the line of scrimmage game was for Alabama in that game. How much better can they get there? I think is a real question mark when you look around the league. Here's the other question in the league too, and it's one game and it's a hot take, so it's not fair. But after 1 week, where do you put Joey Aguilar with the other quarterbacks in this league after 1 week? What do you got done? I'm not starting some crazy campaign here. Don't get me wrong. I'm saying that to say this. The unknowns in this league at quarterback remain unknowns in this league at quarterback. I mean, the SEC Offensive Player of the Week or Co-Player of the Week is Jackson Arnold at Auburn, and his highlight is he rushed for 100 yards, right?
Yeah, he barely threw.
I mean, so my question is, I mean, Lenore Sellers has got all the talent in the world, but he was clearly inconsistent throwing the ball against Virginia Tech on Sunday. And he can run it, and they won the football game, but that's not what a lot of people probably were thinking they were seeing out of him. The quarterback play in this league this year, who really develops, who really grows at that quarterback position is going to say a lot and dictate a lot about what this conference race looks like. I think Texas is fine. I don't think Arch Manning's going to have many 104-yard days. But I think we all forget because of his name unfairly and the hype machine that was around him all summer long. Robbie's not played a ton of football. He's not the most experienced quarterback in the world.
And never in an environment like that.
Yeah, and it showed. So how much better does he get? I think the quarterback part of this league for this fall, Austin, is pretty crazy. Well, or pretty unusual. Let me re-say that.
I'm with you. The whole Nussmeier. I mean, like even like the comments on Twitter and the comments, on the broadcast. Oh my gosh, look at the throw. Oh, I mean, they 17-10. Like, I mean, it's not like that he marched him up and down the field. Like, I mean, I think he does fine, but I mean, like this whole love affair with Garrett Nussmeier to me, it just seems.
I mean, I think he's clearly the best quarterback in the league. It's not even close until, DJ Lagway.
But he's
got a conversation.
But he's not anywhere close to what the best quarterback in the SEC would look like most years.
Yeah, that's fair. But I think that he is, without a doubt, at least in my opinion, if you're ranking these 1 through 16, I mean, Nuss has got to be number 1 because Sellers is way too inconsistent.
What's saying that if he's number 1? Because I think he's pedestrian. I mean, I think he's a good quarterback. Do not think he's a great quarterback.
I think Lagway can be number 1 for sure. Like, maybe at some point this season, I think it can be Lagway. Stockton's way down there. I mean, again, Arch hadn't played enough. John Mateer is interesting. He big time quarterback elsewhere coming in the SEC. He had a big opening game. That's fine. Marcel Reed's a sneaky pick in this conversation. Never gets talked about.
I mean, I think
Diego Pavia.
I think the landscape of quarterbacks in college football is different than we've seen it, Rob, in the last 8 to 10 years. I mean, if you're an NFL scout right now and you're looking for a quarterback and you're thinking college football, who do you like around the country? Who would be your guy right now? I mean, Carson Beck at Miami.
Maybe, and here's the biggest reason why, and I'm not the only one to make this observation, so I'm not trying to act like it. But look at Nico's class, the guys who are juniors right now, who should all be draft eligible coming out next year. Look at those 5 stars. Arch,
all of them are on the second school except for Arch.
Except for Arch, Nico, the Malachi Nelson kid, who Dante Moore. And Arnold, Jackson Arnold. I mean, those are your 5-star quarterbacks in that crop that should be, we should be talking about them leaving as juniors and being top 10 picks, and not a single one of them is that.
Yeah, I don't think we've seen college football in this kind of flux at the quarterback position, or with this kind of unknowns at the quarterback position. I mean, Clemson's guy's a guy, right? I mean. Clay Cup.
He was another 5-star guy. I mean,
he had a phenomenal year last year. He was very mediocre against a really good LSU defense in week 1.
And he's a fourth-year guy. I mean, he's the year before Nico.
Right.
I thought he was going to fizzle out. Like I remember when Tennessee played him in the Orange Bowl, that was like, that they'd say goodbye to whatever his name was, and then he was getting his first start, and then he was kind of very, very pedestrian the next year. Like stats-wise, though, in 24, he had a fantastic year. But quarterback is an interesting conversation around the country for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't think that there's somebody that everybody is gaga about. And look, the NFL's changed. It's not like it's got to be a pro-style guy. I mean, you can have – I love watching Haynes King play because they're playing the single wing at Georgia Tech. Right?
I watching him throw, though. That throwing motion.
But, I mean, they're so unorthodox in what they do that it works. I'm just saying there's not – it doesn't feel like there's this bell cow guy or two at the quarterback position in college football this year, which is a bit unusual at the quarterback spot.
I wonder, like with South Carolina, how much did they feel the loss of Dow Loggins? Like, I mean, he was a pretty good little OC there last year, and offense really clicked the back part of the year and seemed to get things going. Now they got Mike Shula in there since Loggins got the App State job. Like, how much? I mean, how different
transition? I mean, it's just, regardless of whatever you thought about Dow Loggins or not, but I mean, he had his system in there and he pulled his system and left. So you're going through a transition with that for sure. They'll get better. But I don't know how consistent. Maybe Sellers takes off and becomes very consistent. He was not very consistent in this system with Mike Shula and what they were doing in week 1. And I think because of that, there's a lot of wondering on what how the SEC is going to shake out. Because what quarterback can go make enough plays for you to win? Like, Nussmeier made enough plays in the fourth quarter at Clemson to win that game. Okay. After some turnovers, they didn't play very well in the first half as a team. So that's a win on the road. I don't know how many guys can do that, but who's got enough supporting cast around them, but can also go make the play, go make an individual play that you have to have. And that's my biggest takeaway from Joey, not calling him the best in the league or anything. He went and made a handful of quarterback plays that you have to make at that position if you're going to win games. Like a couple plays he made in the red zone were savvy, experience, good quarterback plays. And I think that's why you walk away from that one going, yeah, he's got to get more accurate here. There's some things he can clean up. But boy, there's a handful of plays where you look at it and go, all right, he can shine. He can make the play. He can make a play or two that we're going to have made for us if we're going to win some football games.
Looking at the SEC slate this weekend, there's a lot of games like Tennessee's playing, but there are some power team versus power team in here. I think one of the headliners for this week specifically is Ole Miss and Kentucky. Ole Miss on the road at Kentucky, kicking off SEC play. Austin Simmons was a quarterback that was always rated in front of Joey, obviously, in the offseason. But I don't think anybody knows kind of what Ole Miss has in Austin Simmons as well, outside of the people there in Oxford. That'll be pretty nice little test for him.
That's a game Ole Miss got to go win.
Oh yeah,
right.
For sure.
Ole Miss for the last couple of years has been this team that has been on the cusp of being a playoff team, and they've always done something. They've always had that bad loss,
like losing to Kentucky,
a couple of years ago. Like that. This is not a very. That Kentucky team. They had to find a way to beat Toledo in week 1. To their credit, they got that one done. But this is the game for Ole Miss. You got to go win this game on the road, don't you?
If Ole Miss doesn't win this game by 3 scores, I'll be stunned. Like that Kentucky team, which was I think the point Hubs was about to make, had Barryon Brown, had Dane Key, had some real play. Who do they have?
Yeah,
that's Ole Miss.
Zach Calzada,
multiple scores. Zach Calzada.
Now that Kentucky team, that Kentucky program, in my opinion, is a shell of itself of what it was a couple of years ago, where it at least had a very good foundation, defense, running the football, some skill, and then go get a transfer quarterback. It's just You still didn't win a whole lot then. You're definitely not going to win a whole lot now.
Goalish goes to the swamp.
I was going to say, can that game get interesting? Probably not, but can it?
Go ahead, Rob.
I don't know. I mean, they look great against Boise State, but I mean, how do you extrapolate that? And I bet they'll score some points.
Here's what I take away from South Florida. I think Boise State's going to have a disappointing year because I don't think enough national people took into account they had nearly 30 transfers out of that program after last year. They have had to overhaul that thing a great deal. Not all those transfers were going to play. Some of them were leaving because they knew they weren't going to play. So it's not like they lost 30 starters, but they had a big turnover. But here's where I'm looking at South Florida, Austin. What was it? 2 years ago, Alabama comes to Tampa, and that's a dogfight, right? And then you look at, I guess, last year, they go to Alabama. They were competitive in that game last year at Alabama for a while. So I think that they will go in with a little bit of an attitude because they've played big name opponents home and away in this league, and they've played them respectively. They've been in the football game in the second half, which is why that one's a little bit scary for Florida if I'm a Florida fan. That's my takeaway on South Florida in this matchup. I think Florida wins, but I think South Florida can scare them because I think they'll roll in there with some confidence because of how they played Alabama the last two times.
Meanwhile, Goalish rolls in there trying to take, Billy Napier's job because if he goes in there and wins it, he'll have a real option. I mean, listen, man, Goalish can coach, and he's got a confidence about him, and so I mean, in fact, we don't make picks anymore. I'm picking South Florida to win that game.
I tell you what, I thought South Florida, Eric, showed a nice jump from last year to this year defensively in week 1. We'll see how that continues against better competition. But I thought they looked much more athletic. They flew to the ball better on defense and were better up front than they have been. Now, I don't know what that translates to in the trenches against Florida, but I'm disregarding their offense because I know they're going to be able to score some points. I thought defensively they looked better in week 1.
Yeah, they look better. They were fun to watch. It's gonna. I mean, you're playing Florida now, so you're not playing Boise State. So I'm intrigued to see what that defense.
I just had to look it up. AP is calling an 18-point dog to outright win on the road.
I'm surprised the spread's not larger than that. To be honest with you, that's credit to Goalish. Credit to Goalish and his staff. Meanwhile, Oklahoma and Michigan actually play. That's a big matchup that I skipped over. I think we'll get to see how good John Mateer kind of is, right? Because this is going to be his first test against a pretty good defense.
Yes, very good defense. Very good defense. And, for Oklahoma, they've got a chance to be set up. And they do play Auburn at home. I mean, you look at they got a lot of key home games this year. They do have, 3 tough road ones there on the back half, but they've got a chance to get up to a hot start because they are so home heavy, minus the Red River rivalry, which is in Dallas. Their first week of October, second week of October.
Yeah, I tell you the other one, and I know we're about out of time here. I'll tell you the other one that I'm interested in seeing. I want to see what Vanderbilt Virginia Tech looks like.
Yep.
That one that's an intriguing game. Because Tech just shot themselves in the foot all day long on Sunday. I mean, personal foul penalty when you cross midfield, dead ball personal foul penalty, and just some really bad mistakes that they made that, they turned it over in the red zone, took points off the board there. That game could have been really, really different against South Carolina if they would have just got out of their own way. They were pretty salty on defense. So I am kind of fascinated to see how they bounce back and how Vanderbilt plays on the road there in that matchup.
And thankfully, we'll get to watch most of these games too, right? Because Tennessee's game is right in the middle.
You guys are such haters
of all this at 3:30.
You'd rather play at 7:45 Saturday night.
I would. I'd rather play at noon or late.
I'd rather play at noon.
I hate middle of the afternoon. The whole day.
You guys are such
I'd rather play at noon.
The Vanderbilt schedule, though, Tennessee's bye week is the week of Alabama and Vanderbilt, which means we'll all get to witness that bludgeoning. I don't care how bad Alabama played last weekend. That place will be a hornet's nest for Diego Pavia rolling into T-Town.
No doubt about it. Tennessee and ETSU, the home opener at Neyland Stadium. That's coming up this Saturday. We'll have news and notes. We'll have game week coverage. All that and more right here at Volquest.com. throughout the week and on the Journal's Quarters. Constant conversation, notes, nuggets, all that and more over on the GQ. Try us out, $1 for your first 7 days here at Volquest.com, $1 for your first week. Check us out here in football season. There's no better time to link up with us than right now because everything's going on. Basketball season is going to be starting up here pretty soon. Fall baseball as well. Plus, again, week 2 football season. So join us here, $1 for your first week at Volquest.com. For Austin Price, Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis, I am Eric Kane. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Volquest Tuesday podcast.